Hello, everyone. Tonight, we are going on a journey, a very real journey, into the dusty, shadow-draped past of ancient Egypt. Imagine yourself now, not in your comfy chair, but deep within a recently unearthed, untouched tomb. The air is thick with the scent of millennia, a dry, earthy perfume mixed with something else, something heavy. You shuffle along, flashlight beam cutting through the gloom, past gilded statues whose eyes seem to follow you, past walls adorned with hieroglyphs that tell tales not just of life and death, but of promises and warnings carved into the very stone. The silence here is profound, a silence that swallows sound, a silence that feels less like an absence of noise and more like a presence, a watchful, ancient entity holding its breath. You're deep underground, encased by rock, by history, by a palpable sense of something other. You probably won't survive this, not really, not with your modern sensibilities intact. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you really like what I'm doing here. And as you settle in, let me know where you are watching from tonight and what time it is for you. Knowing you're out there in the dark, maybe with a cup of tea or a half-eaten bag of chips, makes this whole spooky experience a little less lonely. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get going tonight. Your breath hitches, a tiny, almost imperceptible sound in the overwhelming stillness of the burial chamber. The air, despite its age, feels strangely cool, a sensation that prickles the hairs on your arms. You shine your light, a narrow, focused beam, across the intricately painted walls. Every brushstroke, every vibrant color seems to hum with a forgotten energy. This isn't just a tomb, it's a time capsule, a sealed vault of ambition, power, and perhaps a simmering rage. You're the first pair of living eyes to witness this spectacle in thousands of years, a thought that should fill you with awe and excitement. But instead, it brings a strange, creeping apprehension. It's like you've stumbled into someone's very private, very intense living room, and they're not thrilled about company. Your gaze falls upon the sarcophagus, immense and unblemished, resting at the heart of the chamber. It's not just a stone coffin, it's a work of art, adorned with gold leaf that still glints faintly despite the lack of direct light. Hieroglyphs snake across its surface, not just decorative, but purposeful, telling a story or perhaps issuing a warning. The ancient Egyptians, known for their meticulous record-keeping and their rather elaborate preparations for the afterlife, believed profoundly in the power of words, particularly those etched in stone. A universally accepted historical fact is that hieroglyphs were not merely a form of writing, but were considered sacred, infused with divine power. Imagine writing your shopping list and genuinely believing that each word held a piece of your soul. That's a bit how they viewed their sacred texts. You notice something peculiar on the sarcophagus, something almost imperceptible unless you were actively looking. A faint reddish stain near the base, almost absorbed into the ancient stone. It's probably just mineral residue, you tell yourself, a trick of the light, or perhaps some forgotten offering. But a tiny, irrational part of your brain wonders, just for a moment, if it's something else entirely. Something organic. You chuckle nervously, a dry, reedy sound that dies instantly in the thick silence. It's just dust, right? Maybe some ancient beetle juice. Historians still debate whether certain dyes used in ancient Egyptian burial practices were meant to mimic blood or had actual symbolic spiritual significance beyond mere aesthetics. Frankly, I just wonder if they ever had a really bad hair day. As you step closer, the air grows heavier, almost pushing back against you. It's not claustrophobia. It's something more profound, like walking into a massive invisible wall of pressure. You try to shake off the feeling, attributing it to the low oxygen levels or the sheer weight of history pressing down on you. But the feeling persists, a growing hum of unease beneath your skin. You notice a series of smaller, oddly shaped carvings near the sarcophagus lid, unlike any other hieroglyphs you've seen. They're less pictorial and more abstract, almost like a series of interlocking symbols that pulse with a subtle, unsettling energy. In the beam of your flashlight, you reach out almost instinctively to touch one, your fingers hovering just inches from the ancient stone. A faint, almost imperceptible tremor runs through the ground beneath your feet, and for a fleeting second, you feel a cold breath on your neck, despite being alone in a sealed tomb. You pull your hand back as if burned. What kind of warning is this? You dismiss the tremor, of course. It's an old building, or rather, an old hole in the ground, you tell yourself. Probably just a bit of shifting earth, or maybe your own imagination playing tricks in the close, oxygen-depleted air. You know, like when you're home alone and the house creaks, and you instantly assume it's a poltergeist instead of just the floorboards doing their thing. Your rational mind, the one that got you into this tomb in the first place, insists on logical explanations. But the nagging feeling persists, a cold little finger tracing patterns on your spine. You decide to ignore the abstract symbols, moving your flashlight away, focusing on the more recognizable scenes of daily life in the afterlife. Gods weighing hearts, pharaohs sailing across celestial rivers. Much safer territory. Yet as you scan the wall, your light falls upon another set of hieroglyphs, distinct from the others, placed almost haphazardly above a depiction of the pharaoh himself. These aren't the elegant flowing lines of standard Egyptian script. They're angular, sharper, almost jagged, as if carved in haste or by a different hand entirely. You lean in, trying to decipher them, even though your grasp of ancient Egyptian is, shall we say, limited to what you picked up from museum plaques and that one documentary about King Tut. What you can make out, through a vague familiarity with common symbols, seems to be a series of prohibitions, warnings against disturbing the peace, against trespass. And then there's a symbol you've never seen before, a coiled serpent with what looks like a single weeping eye. Not exactly the typical friendly neighborhood snake you'd expect to see. A historical fact that often gets overlooked is that not all ancient Egyptian texts were benign or solely focused on the afterlife. Many inscriptions served as protective spells, curses, or warnings against those who would desecrate tombs or steal offerings. These weren't just polite suggestions. They were believed to have genuine power. Imagine writing, "Do not touch" on your fridge, but instead of just getting a stern look, the person who touches it spontaneously develops a fear of cheese. That's the kind of vibe these warnings carried, and yet here you are, a modern explorer, casually disregarding them. It's the kind of thing you do when you assume thousands of years of accumulated wisdom is just quaint superstition. You know, like how we all used to think dial-up internet was fast. Ah, the good old days. You shrug, a small defiant gesture in the echoing chamber. A warning? For you? You're not here to steal treasures or desecrate the dead.